Senator Roberts, let's start with you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for appearing, Mr Sharp.
Pleasure, Senator.
In response to a question in October Senate estimates relating to the inquiry into the adequacy of the rating system, Senator Brown made this statement, I'm going to quote, "Informal consultation with government stakeholders has commenced. Public consultation will occur early in 2024." End of quote. I subsequently received a response to my question on notice which provided the same information. It's early in 2024 and the Classification Board website does not carry mention of an inquiry. Has public consultation started, and if not, when will it?
Senator, I'd refer you to the department around that. We have been participating in the Stage 1 reforms that have been passed, that legislation has been passed, and the Board's been consulted as part of that, and effectively the preparation for the implementation of that is occurring. As for the Stage 2, the Board has no further information on when that will occur, but I'd refer you to the department for further information.
So when is the review into the classification scheme going to start? Senator Brown said it would be starting early 2024.
I don't have that information, Senator. We're a key stakeholder, but that's a decision for the Minister and the department.
So I have to ask the department.
Yes, Senator.
Senator Brown, you said it would start early 2024.
And it's very early 2024. And so we're talking about the second stage of the reform? Which
the review into the classification system.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the second stage of the reform will clarify the scheme's purpose and scope and establish fit-for-purpose regulatory and governance arrangements and improve the responsiveness of the scheme to evolving community standards and expectations. I will have to take on notice. I don't think I have. So I will have to take on notice any particular date. Oh, here's the department. They can tell.
Apologies.
Sorry, I didn't know you were here.
Given I caught your question, just to assist, yes, the intention is still that public consultation will kick off in the early this year. A precise date I don't have, but that remains the intention.
Talking a month or so?
I wouldn't look. I don't want to put a time on it, but yes, the intention is still early this year to commence public consultation on the Stage 2 reforms.
Okay. In response to my question regarding the graphic novel Welcome to Sex, which I described as targeted to 10-year-olds and up, and the author in fact says it's suitable for 8-year-olds and up. Ms Jolly, I guess that's your predecessor?
Correct, Senator.
Responded, quote, "Our understanding is that the book clearly states that it's targeted to teenagers from 13 up." That's the end of the quote. "Here is the book, which on the flyleaf identifies the reader as a, quote, apprehensive 11-year-old. Amazon still has the listing at 10 plus. Now, I do note Hardy Grant, the publishers, have removed reference to an age entirely, so we're heading in the right direction, which is unhelpful, though, to potential purchasers, and where other books have the book listed, booksellers have it listed at 14 plus. Can you clarify, on notice please, Mr Sharp, what age is the Classification Board happy with, 10 plus or 14 plus, and why?"
Senator, it's actually not the place of the Board to predict what age something should be available other than through the classification process. So we've had no applications for that book at this time, and the Board has not reviewed it.
And it's now self-classification, I take it, since the legislation was passed. Is that correct?
No, Senator, that's not correct. The Stage 1 reforms did not address anything to do with publications. Publications can either be submitted for classification by the publisher, or they can be called in by the director if there's a belief that it could possibly be a submittable publication.
So, in other words, self-classification is one of the choices, or submitted to the Board?
Well, self-classification, it's not self-classification, Senator. It is the publisher choosing to have the Board classify it by making an application for that. Self-classification generally is referred to as they will make a choice about what that classification is and publish it in that way.
I thought the publisher could classify it or ask the board to classify it. I thought that's what you said.
No, the publisher can put it forward as an application to be classified by the board, or the board can call it in separately.
Sorry, thank you for clarifying. But there seems to be some backside covering going on with the publishers because they've started to shift the age upwards slightly. In the last estimates, in response to my question around the options available to the classification board for graphic novels, Ms Jolly, your predecessor, said, quote, "I think the board's submission to the Stevens review back in 2020 was that we felt there would be benefit in having some greater graduations in classifications," end of quote. Yet the Stevens report did not make that recommendation at all. In fact, quoting from page 66 of his report, on balance, he said, "On balance, I do not consider that a compelling case has been made for an additional classification category in isolation of a more fundamental look at all the categories." So, Mr Sharp and Senator Brown, will you assure the committee your work in this current review, imminent review, will provide that in-depth look at available options that supports a legally binding intermediate classification such as MA 14+ or MA 15+?
Well, Senator, it's a good question, and the board does not have any input into the scope of that review. However, I can say that on the public record, the board in 2020 for the Stevens review made a submission and made recommendations around publications with the intention of the idea of harmonising and aligning all the guidelines, the film, the computer game and the publications, so that A, they're more clear in their administering, but also for the public to understand. So within that, the board did note that it would make sense to abolish the existing unrestricted Category 1 and Category 2, which really is unclear to the public, and institute possibly an M, an R18+, or an X18+, which would align to those three categories, and also are well understood by the public within the film classification and computer games classification. So that was part of the board submission in 2020, and the board still has a position. So
I'm hoping that the MA 14+ or MA 15+, which we think is necessary because it's not suitable for under 14s, and it is suitable for 14s and up, 15s and up, that would fit in with your M. Is that correct?
Well, not exactly, Senator. M is not recommended for 15 persons under 15. MA is a legally restricted classification.
What does that mean?
It means that people under 15 years cannot purchase the publication unless, and similarly with a film, cannot view a film unless they have an adult that is doing that for them. So it's not that they cannot hold it, but they cannot purchase it or buy a ticket to it themselves. So the board's previous submission was for an M, which is an equivalent to an unrestricted, because currently you may well be aware that unrestricted can also have an additional consumer advice of not recommended for persons under 15 years. An R18, which would be an equivalent of a Category 1 currently, and an X18. So the intention of the board in that submission and our position today still is to use classification designations that the public understands and recognises and trusts very well within the film classification area and the computer game classification area.
So would that mean it would not be possible for a 14-year-old or under 14 to buy this?
It would be strongly recommended that it's not for that age group, but it would not be legally prohibited to do so, and it would be advised that parental decision-making around that, parental guidance is part of that process. So
you're heading in what would be the right direction for me?
I'm pleased to hear that, Senator.
But that's what it sounds like. I'm just checking.
I believe we're on the same page.
Yeah, I don't think under 14 should be able to get this, but let's see what happens with your review, which is imminent.
Correct, Senator.
Okay, we'll ask in May.
There'll be more to say in due course, Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Thank you, Chair.